Thank you very much, Stu. Believe me, if I would have to open, I would use the exactly same analysis you did, but you did it better. And I agree with every word you have said, but I would omit the final, the end of it. So I shall be really very brief in my opening remarks and leave room for questions and answers. Apparently, the Jewish people know the answers to all the questions, but for one. The only question that we don't know the answer is, who is a Jew? Maybe we don't know the answer to this question because the question is wrong. The problem is not who is a Jew. The question is, what does it mean to be Jewish today? All the others are quite confusing. And we are different from any other people because for 2,000 years we were a people, we had a faith without having a state and without having a land. It didn't happen to anybody else. To be in exile for 2,000 years, hanging on the Bible, on the prayer, without ground, Makkah. No, you sure? Okay. And now we're in a different situation. We have a state, we have a land. Could we abandon our faith? Could we make it secondary? The answer is clearly no. But the faith is different when you're in exile and we're at home. In exile, the faith means a prayer. At home, it means deeds. Being Jewish, out of Israel, you can pray. But being in charge of a land and a state, you have to do. And you are being judged, not by what you pray, but what you really exercise and do. So being judged by our doings, you must understand it. I don't suggest to give up prayers, I don't suggest to give up anything, but we must understand it. And strangely enough, I remember a nice quotation from all our people who was a great anti-Semite by the name of Karl Marx. He said, if you want to know the secret of the Jewish people, don't try to discover their faith. But if you know the secret of a faith, look at the Jewish people. You are living on our faith more than on anything else. And now we are being judged. We cannot give up the heart of the Jewish faith, which is, in my judgment, the moral commitment. The preference of the moral call upon all other considerations. It doesn't mean that if we are being attacked, we don't have to defend our lives. But even if we are attacked, our purpose is to go out of violence and war and move toward peace. Today we shall be judged, in my judgment, no matter what we say, if we are able to bring peace or not. If the strength of our moral commitment is enough to call us to go over from a very complicated situation to very complicated negotiations and to very costly peace. I know that it's very expensive to do it. I think that there is a fair chance to do it. For one reason that you have mentioned already, Stu, because overshadowing the Israeli-Arab conflict is the Iranian intervention. Today, many Arabs are worried about the Iranians winning the day as we do. The Arabs were 1,000 years under the occupation of different empires. Out of those 1,000 years, 400 years, they were under the yoke of a Muslim empire, the Turkish. 400 years, they governed their life. They didn't know a day of freedom. They won freedom 90 years ago when the French and the British expelled the Ottoman Empire, took over, and made a new map of the Middle East with 22 or 23 countries. 90 years ago, there were a great hope. I'm not sure that this hope sustained and met the challenges of the time, but it doesn't matter. Even today, even if the Arabs are weak or not weak, I don't want to make any sweeping statement now. There is one thing clear to all of us. We prefer to have 22 or 3 independent Arab states where there is still a difference between church and state or mosque and state than to see the Middle East falling under the absolute control of the Iranians, which will be not just an Iranian supremacy, but a religious supremacy. No distinction, no separation between mosque and state. And when a person becomes holy, you cannot argue with him. It's the end of reason. He's holy. He gets his own orders. He gives his own orders. He doesn't have to report to anybody. And the model of Iran is dictatorship, terror, lies, denies, whatever you want. The Arabs are very, very worried about it, but they don't have, I'm not sure they have the strength to meet this challenge. My last remark will be about the United States. I don't think when it comes to Israel we have any problems with the United States. Basically, the majority of the American people are supporting us. I would say just one remark. Among all the friends, and we are a friend of the United States, not only the United States is a friend of us, we are the only friend that never asked that American soldiers will come and defend us. Many countries that try to teach us a lesson, they are being defended by American soldiers even today. We never did it. We didn't try to war with the American mothers to send their boys to fight in Israel, for Israel, in Israel. But we fought alone, but we cannot exist alone. For our existence, we need the friendship of the United States of America. It doesn't sound easy, but this is the truth. I'm not trying here to make any public relations. That's the truth. To be alone in a world which tends to be basically, if not totally, partly anti-Jewish, and to have a built-in majority in the United Nations against us. And the heavy interests are not necessarily for us. We cannot remain alone. So I believe that there is an understanding in the United States on all levels. I don't say totally. Stanley wouldn't permit me to do so. I'm referring to your polls. But I believe when it will come to America, this will supersede Israel. For example, if there will be a danger that the oil fields will fall in the hands of Iran, this is an American story, not an Israeli one. And the United States will do whatever they can, and rightly so. Because whoever will control the oil fields will control in a way the American economy as well. So as the United States is trying to understand the security needs of Israel, we Israelis must also understand the security needs of the United States. We cannot give to the United States what the United States is giving to us. But in our own small way, we can be of help. And of help means to enable a anti-Iranian coalition in the Middle East. And the contribution will not be by a declaration, but if it will stop the secondary conflict between us and the Palestinians and enable to concentrate on the major threat, which is both to the United States and to Israel. And I would wind up my remarks by a small story. You know, Ben-Gurion met Kennedy. Kennedy was elected in November 1960. And in between November and January, I think the president is the Waldorf Astoria until he enters the White House. So Kennedy received in the early days of 1961. And they had a good chat. Asked Ben-Gurion what took place between them. He told me they had a good chat. But then he told me Kennedy accompanied him to the elevator. When they were just the two of them, Kennedy turned to Ben-Gurion and says, Mr. Prime Minister, now that we are just the two of us, let me tell you, I know that I was elected because of your people. What can I do in return? Ben-Gurion didn't like it. So he thought for a while and told him, Mr. President, what you can do for us in return is to be a great president of the United States of America. Nothing has changed since then. Thank you.